Halfway down a corridor in an ordinary American storage building, two 10 by 10 units sit door to door. Same steel, same concrete, same cubic feet of nothing. The renter behind the first door pays $89 a month. The renter behind the second pays $168. Neither has ever met the other, and neither price is a mistake. Why the same empty cube carries two different prices on the same afternoon is the question that unlocks this industry. The business behind those doors is easy to underestimate. More than 50,000 self-storage facilities operate across the United States, more locations than Subway, Dollar General, and CVS combined, wrapping the country in over 2.1 billion rentable square feet. Spread that out, and there are close to 6 square feet of rentable storage for every single person in the country. Roughly one American household in 10 rents a unit, a share that has climbed for 2 decades. And the industry collects about $44 billion a year, almost all of it on month-to-month agreements. Either side can end on short notice. Ownership splits in a way few renters suspect. Independent operators still hold most of the buildings, while a handful of public giants control an outsized share of the square footage, the technology, and as we will see, the prices. Walk the halls, and the price of space bends with size in a way no tenant expects. The smallest lockers earn the most per foot, with a 5 by 5 often billing more than twice the rate per foot of a large drive-up bay. Little spaces rent like closets and price like gold. Big ones rent like garages and price like dirt, and climate control stacks another premium on the very same air. So the layout of a building is itself a pricing call made in the blueprint years before the first lock clicks shut. And a clever mix of small doors can beat a bigger rival on revenue with fewer feet. From the parking lot, the product looks like real estate at its most boring. A metal box holds boxes, yet the number on the website is not really the price of the space. It is bait, and the industry treats it that way openly. 7 of every 10 renters now sign up online at a discounted web rate, and move-in specials, $1 for the first month, half off for the summer, are the standard cost of winning a stranger. Filling a unit means paying search engines, listing platforms, and referral sites for the click, which can consume much of that first discounted month. The real pricing, the part ownership atlas came to measure, begins only after the lock goes on. Losing money on day one is fine with the plan, and the reason is time. A renter lured in for $1 tends to stay far past the promo, and the protection plan sold at sign-up starts billing at once. Price the whole stay, not the first month, and the giveaway looks cheap. The average customer now sticks around long enough to repay that free month many times over, which is why the banner outside can shout a number the ledger never fears. The bait costs weeks. The habit pays for years. About 5 to 7 months in, the first letter arrives. The rent steps up, often by 10 or 15%, and similar letters follow every 9 to 12 months for as long as the boxes stay. Operators call these existing customer rate increases, and in the current market they are not a side tactic. They are the engine. The rest of the business is built around it. Through this spring, advertised street rates fell year over year in every single one of the 30 largest metros. Yet the biggest landlord in the sector reported flat same-store revenue, while its move-in rents dropped more than 2%. New customers were paying less, the people already inside were paying more, and the second group carried the quarter. That split is what pulled this investigation deeper into the numbers, because it points at the figure storage is actually run on, not occupancy, revenue per available square foot, the rent truly collected divided by every foot the building could rent, full or empty. The largest operators publish it, their software optimizes it, and one chief executive told investors plainly that his systems hold no preference between occupancy and rate. They chase total revenue wherever it hides. Read that favorite metric like an owner, and the logic of the two doors appears. A building at 95% full of old cheap rents can collect less per foot than one at 87% full of fresh raised ones. So chasing the fuller number can be the poorer trade. That is why a giant will let a mover walk over $10, then mail a $15 increase the same week, and call both moves the same policy. The engine works because of a truth every renter recognizes. Moving out is brutal. Answering a $12 increase means renting a truck, begging a friend, losing a Saturday, and confronting every object you paid to avoid confronting. Most people pay. At the largest operator, nearly 2/3 of tenants now stay beyond a year, and stays have been stretching across the industry. The average stay has grown past 17 months. Each month, the customer runs a private contest between the new price and the hassle usually wins. Self-storage does not really rent space. It rents the distance between a decision and a payment 30 days at a time. Run the tenant's own math and the pull gets stranger. Plenty of units bill more in a year than the resale worth of what sits inside, and the renter often knows it. The goods are not really the product being bought. What is bought is relief, the right not to decide today, and relief reprices itself every month without shame. For a renter, the honest defense is dull. Put a date on the calendar, go open the door twice a year, and ask what in there is worth another 12 payments. This trade earns most from the people who never ask. What fills the units in the first place is disruption. A move, a marriage, a divorce, a downsizing, a death in the family, a business outgrowing a garage. Small firms lean on units too, contractors parking tools, online sellers staging stock, offices banishing records, and those business tenants tend to stay longer and gripe less than households. Demand also spiked when the pandemic sent everyone home to clear a room. And the boom that followed pushed national occupancy to a record near 95% in 2021, with rates to match. The years since have been the hangover. The busiest trigger by far is the moving van, which is why the sector's slump traces straight to the housing freeze. Americans bought about 4.06 million existing homes in 2024, the fewest since 1995, then bought 1,000 fewer in 2025, the fourth annual decline in a row. Fewer moves means fewer new renters bidding for space. The main door of new demand is stuck half shut. Street rates have now spent roughly 3 years falling. This May, the average advertised rate sat near $16.34 per square foot per year, about $136 a month for a typical unit, down again from the year before, with oversupplied Sunbelt metros like Phoenix and Tampa still the weakest. Yet through all of it, the big operators report occupancy above 91%. Buildings stayed full while the revenue in each foot leaked. Hold that pairing. It is the entire warning inside this episode's title. Pulling the rent roll on businesses everyone drives past is what Ownership Atlas is for. If you want the cash behind familiar buildings traced line by line, one industry at a time, a subscription sends the next investigation your way. Beside the rent sits a quieter product with margins rent could envy. Nearly every operator sells a tenant protection plan at sign-up, a few dollars to a few tens of dollars a month against fire, theft, and leaks. At the biggest landlord, those small premiums passed $250 million across last year, while claims and every cost of running the program took about $58 million. Roughly 77 cents of each premium dollar stayed. Protection plans alone cleared $192 million of income for that one company, up more than 10% in a single year, all of it riding on square feet it already owned. Add admin fees at move-in, late fees governed by state law, locks and boxes at the desk, and at some sites, truck rentals, and the counter becomes a second business, stapled to the first. For renters, the lesson is to read what the plan actually covers. Some already hold coverage through a home or renter's policy, which is exactly why reading first can save the monthly add-on. For owners, the lesson is that a rent roll can pay twice, once through the unit and once through everything sold beside it. Now flip the ledger, because the cost side explains the sector's strange durability. Storage runs lean. Lean is the whole point of the box. Nationally, operating expenses absorb about 35% of income at a typical facility. And the public giants run in the mid-20s to low 30s, leaving net operating margins near 2/3 of every dollar, among the richest in American real estate. A site needs one manager, sometimes none, with gates, cameras, kiosks, and call centers standing in for payroll. The heaviest line is the one no operator controls. Property taxes take roughly a quarter to nearly a third of all operating costs, billions of dollars a year across the industry. And the bill resets in ways buyers forget. Many counties reassess a property at its sale price, so the tax line can double or worse the day a new owner closes, a surprise buried in more than one broken pro forma. Insurance has been climbing behind it, and the marketing toll to the search platforms never stops. Storm-heavy states have seen property premiums jump hardest, and the metal itself asks for money on a slow clock: roofs, springs, doors, cameras, asphalt, a reserve of a few dollars per foot that easy years tempt owners to skip. Even so, the arithmetic is forgiving. With costs this low, a facility can cover its operating bills with roughly half its doors paying. Vacancy alone almost never kills a storage building. Remember that, because something else does. Technology explains how the payroll got so thin. Rentals close on a phone at midnight, a code opens the gate, a kiosk takes the card, and a call center 3 states away answers the rest. The same shift handed pricing to software. Rates on thousands of doors now move the way airline seats do, nudged daily by algorithms reading local search, rival banners, and each unit's odds of sitting empty. A family operator with a whiteboard is not competing with the building across the road. It is competing with the model that prices it, and the model does not sleep, blink, or feel bad. The counterweight is service. A named manager who calls before an increase, sweeps the halls, and answers the phone still keeps tenants an algorithm loses, which is the one edge small owners get for free. Supply is that something's favorite doorway. A simple single-story facility can be built for $25 to $75 a square foot before land, a multi-story climate-controlled one for far more. And a new site typically needs 18 to 24 months of discounting to lease up. When money was cheap, cranes followed. 55 million square feet of new space arrived in 2025 alone, and though deliveries are forecast to slow to around 2.4% of stock this year, they concentrate street by street. Storage is a 3 to 5 mile business. A rival breaking ground one exit away moves your pricing power more than your own vacancy ever will. New builds also explain why rate wars start on schedule. A fresh site opens empty, owes its lender from day one, and has exactly one weapon: price. So it discounts through 2 leasing summers to fill, and every discount resets what nearby renters believe the going rate is. Your competitor's lease up is your rate cut, whether you match it or not. The largest operators say the share of their stores facing brand new competition has fallen from nearly 3 in 10 during the boom to well under 1 in 10 now, which is exactly why their pricing has begun to firm. Less new steel near the gate is worth more to an owner than any ad they could ever buy. Ownership Atlas priced these forces into one hypothetical building and ran it toward 2 different fates. Picture 50,000 net rentable square feet, about 600 doors, in a mid-sized metro, sitting 88% full. Rent and fees bring in near $750,000 a year. Operating costs, taxes, insurance, one manager, software, marketing, and upkeep take about $260,000, leaving net operating income near $490,000. In the boom, A buyer paid $8.2 million for that stream, about a 6% yield, with $5.3 million borrowed at 6.75% over 25 years. The payment runs close to $37,000 a month, $440,000 a year. The owner clears about $50,000, thin, and the county is not finished. Reassessment at the purchase price adds $75,000 to the tax line, and the same building, unchanged, now loses money before a single customer leaves. Note where the danger sits. The building alone is nearly unkillable, since operating bills clear with barely half the doors paying. It is the loan priced off boom revenue that drags this buyer's true break-even past 90% full. The risk was never the empty units. It was what got promised against the full ones. Season the model lightly and it breathes like the real thing. Moving vans and move-ins through spring and summer, move-outs and discounts through winter, a year of cash arriving in waves that the mortgage, due monthly, refuses to notice. Then the crane shows up. A 75,000 square foot rival opens one exit away with a $1 first month on its banner. Occupancy at our facility slips only from 88 to 85%. The building still looks full from the road. The sign out front never even blinks. But the street rate falls by a quarter, and the increase ladder stalls. Because raising a tenant $20 while a half-price sign glows across the intersection is an invitation to rent the truck. Over 18 months, revenue per available foot drops about 12%, roughly $90,000 a year, and the boom buyer is losing close to $10,000 a month with the parking lot busy. Run the identical storm through a different owner, one who bought the same building years earlier and carries an older loan costing about $100,000 a year, and the site still banks a couple $100,000 annually. The vacancy was never the difference. The price paid, the debt sized at the top, and the tax bill underneath decided everything. And no lever moved the outcome like the rent collected per foot. Value math doubles the pain. Buildings here trade as a multiple of their income, and at a 6% yield, each dollar of yearly operating profit is worth about $16 of price. So the $90,000 revenue slide did not just pinch the monthly account. It erased something like $1.5 million of building value, years of cash flow gone on paper in one rate war. Owners defend rate with such ferocity because every dollar of rent lives twice, once as income and once multiplied as the number the whole place would sell for. Debt adds a clock the model has not even used yet. Most commercial loans here balloon, coming due in 5, 7, or 10 years, and a note written at a 4% yield in the boom must refinance against today's values and rates. Owners who never missed a payment can still be asked to bring fresh cash to the table, and the ones who cannot become the listings that giants and funds are patiently waiting to buy. History keeps grading this design kindly, with one asterisk. In 2008, while real estate collapsed, the largest storage landlord was one of the few property stocks anywhere to finish the year higher, and analysts have called the sector recession resistant ever since. Because breakups, downsizing, and dislocation stock units in bad times too. The past 3 years added the asterisk, demand held, buildings stayed full, and storage stocks still lagged, down about 6% for investors through late last year, because durable demand is not the same thing as durable rates. When borrowing costs jumped, the value math reversed as well. The yields used to price these buildings moved from under 4% at the peak towards 6%, which cut what any given rent roll is worth by a fifth or more, no vacancy required. The floor under demand stays oddly human all the while. Recessions cancel vacations, not divorces. Households shrink into smaller homes, and the overflow needs a door. Movers double up with family, and the furniture needs one too. That is why the boxes fill in bad years even as new rentals slow, and why lenders long treated storage as the safest sleepy corner of property. The last cycle taught the correction. The floor holds up demand for space. Nothing holds up the price of it except scarce supply and patient debt. Watch what the giants did about it. In 2023, Extra Space Storage paid about $12.7 billion for rival Life Storage and became the biggest operator in the country. It now manages more than 1,900 additional stores for outside owners, collecting fees, insurance income, and pricing data from buildings it never bought, and runs a bridge lending book near $1.5 billion. Scale in this business is a pricing machine with a brand attached. This March, Public Storage answered with a $10.5 billion all-stock deal for National Storage affiliates. More than 1,000 properties, 69 million square feet, over 500,000 units at roughly a 35% premium. Shareholders approved it days ago, and the deal is set to close within the week, handing the crown back. Notice what is really being purchased in a soft market. National Storage's buildings ran about 84% full, while the acquirer runs above 91. The giants are not paying billions for metal. They are paying for rent rolls, search rankings, and software that prices inertia better. And the small operators who still own most facilities are the pipeline they intend to buy or manage next. That leaves the family owner 3 doors of their own. Sell into the premium while buyers still pay 1. Hire a giant's flag and software, trading a management fee for the pricing engine and the search rank, or stay independent and fight, which can work in a protected pocket, but means bringing a spreadsheet to an algorithm duel everywhere else. At the far end of the price ladder waits the part of this business television made famous. When a tenant stops paying, state lien laws take over. Notices go out, often by certified mail, access is locked, and after 30 to 90 days, sometimes longer, the contents can be sold at public auction, with proceeds applied to the debt and any surplus returned to the tenant, who can stop the sale by paying up to the moment it starts. For owners, an auction is not a payday. It is a failed customer, months of lost rent, cleanup, and turnover, which is why the whole machine works to keep the payment coming instead. The drama sells on screen. On the ledger, it is a write-off with an audience. Rules and trust set the outer fence around all this pricing. States require written notice before an increase, lien steps run on statutory clocks, and during declared emergencies, many states cap how much any rent, storage included, may jump. The softer fence matters more. Push increases past what the convenience is worth, and tenants finally rent the truck, reviews turn, referral costs rise, and the software's own inputs sour. The latter pays only while it feels roughly fair. Sit in the owner's chair for one decision. That rival across the intersection is open and its banner is working. You can match the teaser, cut your street rates, and defend occupancy, knowing every new move-in resets your ladder lower. Or you can hold your rates, protect revenue per foot, and watch occupancy drift toward the low 80s until the rival fills. Rate or occupancy? Which do you defend first, and for how long? Make your case in the comments. The ways owners actually lose here line up neatly. They buy full buildings at boom prices and thin yields, sizing the debt to teaser-era revenue. They underwrite yesterday's tax bill instead of the one their own purchase creates. The zoning board goes unwatched until a competitor's rendering appears inside their 3 miles. They squeeze the ladder until churn spikes, reviews rot, and the price of every future move in falls with them. On each of those roads, the occupancy report looked fine the whole way down. For ownership to pay here, the conditions are specific. Debt kept light or fixed, sized to normal rates rather than record ones. Taxes underwritten at the buyer's own price and appealed without embarrassment. A trade area that is hard to build in, where land or zoning does the defending. Increases that price convenience honestly and gradually, so the tenant's monthly contest keeps ending in a payment instead of a truck. and a dashboard where revenue per available foot sits above occupancy, checked weekly, believed always, and an exit priced on real collected rent, not the sign out front. Go back to the corridor with the 2 doors. The $89 tenant is not a bargain, and the $168 tenant is not a victim. The first price buys a customer. The second prices a habit, and the gap between them is the business plan working exactly as designed. Self-storage was never really a bet on buildings. It is the monthly pricing of human inertia, the small recurring decision that dealing with our own belongings can wait another 30 days. Who prospers is settled by 3 numbers. The revenue collected per available square foot, not the share of doors shut. The fixed weight bolted underneath, the debt and the tax bill, both set forever on the day of purchase, and the supply allowed within a few miles of the gate. Get those right, and a plain steel building becomes one of the calmest cash flows in American real estate. Get them wrong, and it fails politely, at 90% full, with the lights on. Empty units were never the biggest risk. The biggest risk is everything an owner promises against full ones. And the quietest sound in this industry remains its most valuable, a corridor of shut doors, each one paid for again this month by someone who decided the past can keep.